The fifth mindfulness training shows us the practice of mindful consumption of edible food and the practice of mindfulness consumption of sensory impressions. Last week we had a retreat for Hollywood entertainers. And we told them that we need them to help us with the practice. They should try to provide us with films that water the good seed in us. And it would be very helpful if they refrain from making the films that water the seed of anger and violence and fear in us. They listen very, very deeply because they have that good, the seed of wisdom in them. And next week I'm going to meet with a group of producers of film in Hollywood. Please pray for me. I said that I told them that there is already a statue of liberty in the East Coast. But in the name of liberty, we have produced so many items of consumption that very destructive. And that is why I propose that a statue of responsibility be built in the West Coast. And one person in the retreat stood up and said, "Well, Thầy, I will do it." It's a sculpture. So during that retreat, I did my best to water the seed of compassion, understanding, and responsibility in these people. And let us continue to help them. The third source of nutriment the Buddha talked about is called volition. The deepest kind of desire that we have in ourselves. Because the life of a person is motivated by that desire. If you don't have any desire, you cannot continue to live. The desire may be very, very wholesome or very unwholesome. Siddhartha Gautama, who became a Buddha, he was motivated by a very strong desire to transform himself and to help the world. He's supposed to become a king, a politician. But as he observed, he saw that his father was very helpless, having the power of a king in his hand, but he was helpless. There's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of difficulties, misery in the country. And with that political power, he could not do much. Because there are afflictions, fear, hate, violence, anger in them. So politicians are very limited in their power to act. So Siddhartha did not care about becoming a king and having a lot of power. That is why he left the palace, seeking for a path of transformation and healing. And that desire was so strong in him that he was able to undergo many hardships. Finally, he succeeded in becoming an enlightened person with a lot of understanding and compassion. And he did not feel tired at all during the 45 years of teaching, practicing and helping people. And he helped everyone, kings, ministers, rich businessmen, and scavengers, slaves. He helped everyone. And he accepted all kinds of people in his noble Sangha. In his Sangha there is no caste, there is no race. There is only a race of enlightenment. The noble Sangha. You are the noble Sangha of the Buddha. You are the beloved Sangha of the Buddha. No discrimination. And if you practice mindfulness, concentration, and insight, you bring the element of nobility into your daily life. And that is why the Sangha is called a noble Sangha. If your deepest desire is to have a lot of fame, a lot of sex, a lot of consumption, and then that desire can bring you a lot of suffering. That is why we have to look deeply into our deepest desire to find out whether that is wholesome or unwholesome. If you are motivated by the desire to transform yourself and to help your people, your community to transform, to bring joy and hope, into their life, to live with the spirit, with the wisdom of non-discrimination. Capable of protecting themselves from complexes and suffering, so that your community will be a powerful instrument for social change. And then you have the best kind of volition. And that gives you an infinite source of energy. You become very alive, very dynamic in your daily life. And you make your community into a dynamic community. Because your community also has a deepest desire for social change. Social change, social justice, equality. Can be obtained with the transformation of our consciousness, of our collective consciousness. Because consciousness is at the base. If we are not capable of changing ourselves, our way of thinking, our way of perceiving, if you are not free from wrong perceptions, and then any kind of action, no matter how direct they are, cannot bring the kind of result we want. Actions like sit in, teach in, pray in, wait in, will be meaningful only when they are born from our freedom, our compassion, our understanding. If you have the wisdom of non-discrimination, if you have the energy of understanding and compassion, and then this kind of action can bring about the result very quickly. Social change is only the outcome of the change of our consciousness. Then this is why this practice should be done right away in our family and in our community. In your community of Pure Land practice, organize to do it, to practice it in your family, in a community. In your church, Baptist or not, you practice the same kind of practice, getting in touch with the kingdom every day, several times a day, learning how to handle the suffering, individual and collective, for transformation and healing. These are the basic practice. And if you succeed in transforming yourself, your community, and then the social change will come about very easily. And many people looking at you, looking at your way of life, see that you embody the practice of non-discrimination, of compassion. They can join you. And you have a lot of allies. Even if they don't belong to the same kind of culture. And this is the points that we have to discuss in our Dharma discussions. One day, a leader of the Native American community came to me. We met in Vermont, and he invited me to join him in speaking tour in Europe and others to speak about the plight, the suffering of the Native Americans, to draw the people's attention in the world to that suffering. I invited to sit down and to have a cup of tea with me. And very slowly I tried to tell him that the first step is not that. The first step is that he go home to his community and help his community to practice these kind of basic things, like the 5 mindfulness trainings, creating brotherhood, sisterhood, awakening, to free ourselves from wrong perceptions, from wrong discrimination, from discrimination. Because discrimination does not only exist in them, discrimination does exist in each of us. We have both hell and paradise in us. They also have hell and paradise in us. So if we are capable of touching paradise and transform hell in us, we will be able to help them touch the paradise in them and transform hell in them. They are no longer our enemies. They are the people we want to help. But we have to help ourselves first. It's not a problem of protesting, because we can see them as victims of their wrong perceptions, of their own ignorance and fear and violence. And that is why to me is a very crucial, it's very urgent to go home to ourselves and to our community and begin the real practice. The practice of mindful consumption. So that we can heal our body, we can heal our consciousness, our mind. And this kind of practice, mindful consumption, not to use alcohol, not to use drugs, not to use items of consumption like television programs, books that can bring toxin in us, is at the base, at the foundation of our practice. And then at a time when our young people no longer use drugs and consume these toxic items, we become a living Dharma talk. We can come and help those who are still in prison because of the fact that they have consumed drugs and they have committed violence, because they had violence in them, but they did not know how to handle violence in them. That is why they have got into prison. We have to try ways in order to come to help them. In my tradition, in the ancient time, Buddhist temples did work like a farming, agricultural Zen. No work, no food, so we farm our land and support our community. And we went to the government and we asked them to handle over to us a number of prisoners. I make the commitment to teach these prisoners. We want to accept them to our community. We will give the work for them, farming, to do. And they learn the practice of the 5 mindfulness trainings. And the government, the authority, believe in the Buddhist tradition, because we had succeeded in many times to transform, to teach prisoners, and finally we help these prisoners to get married, to have a plot of land, to build a house, and to start their life. In the past, we had been able to do things like that. I think in our time, we can do things that are similar. There are young men and women who have got so much violence and fear in themselves. And also the seed of craving is big. They don't know how to handle these seeds. They have committed crimes. They have done wrong things. And they have got into prisons, and they should be helped. We should have programs to help them to transform. We could talk to the government, to the correction institutions, that there are better ways to help a young person to transform than put him in prison. We can organize communities of mindful living. We can give these, we can guarantee for these people, and we can help them transform and become good citizens of the society. And this is in the scope of our practice, the practice of mindful living, the practice of transformation and healing. This practice prescribed by the Buddha is not only to help the individual. In fact, the Buddha urged us to practice as a community. And when the community embodies the spirit of the Dharma, and then the community can have an impact on society and produce social change. And it looks like each monk, each lay person in his beloved Sangha become a kind of social worker. Social worker in the broader sense, broader meaning. When you can help a person to see his path and to get motivated by the desire to transform and to do good, you are a social worker. When you organize a Dharma discussion or a day of mindfulness and help people to touch the Dharma, to taste the joy of the practice of peace, well, you are doing social work. So the spiritual and the social realms, they are not separated. Whatever you can do in the spiritual realm will benefit deeply the social realm, and so on.